Welcome to The Explainer. So today we're jumping right into a pretty sharp critique of Australian foreign and energy policy. This all comes from a recent Sky News Australia segment that puts forward a very clear and, I have to say, very forceful point of view. And the argument we're looking at today kicks off with this really powerful claim. It's a pretty stark way to frame a precarious international ceasefire, and it definitely sets the high-stakes tone for everything that follows. Okay, so here's how we're going to break this down. We're going to walk through the speaker's argument in 5 key parts. We'll start with a global dispute, then see how it supposedly hits the price at the pump, look at a call to action, and then we'll pivot to a domestic fuel crisis, and finally get to the core critique. All right, let's dive in. All right, so first up, the speaker really hones in on what they see as a major diplomatic issue, basically a high-stakes disagreement between the US and Iran over a pretty crucial deal. And right here, this is the central accusation that really gets the ball rolling. The speaker is claiming that in this really sensitive situation, Australia has chosen the wrong side, so to speak, siding against a key traditional ally. Now, this is interesting because this slide really gets to the heart of the disagreement, right? According to the speaker, you've got the US negotiators saying, hey, Lebanon was never part of this deal. But on the other side, Iran is insisting it was. And the whole critique here is that Australia is apparently accepting Iran's version of events over America's. Okay, so you might be wondering, how does some far-off diplomatic argument actually hit your wallet? Well, the speaker argues it's a direct economic threat for every single Australian. Get this, $2 million. That's the number the speaker throws out there. He's warning that this could become a toll on every single ship passing through these vital straits. And he doesn't pull any punches. He calls an outcome like that a catastrophe. So who's going to feel the pain from this so-called catastrophe? Well, the speaker points specifically to Australia's miners, farmers, and truckers. The argument is that this toll would lead to what he calls absolutely extortionate fuel prices, which would cripple the very industries that are the backbone of the economy. So the speaker doesn't just point out the problem and leave it at that. Nope. He offers up a very clear, very assertive 3-step solution to this threat he's outlined. So the path forward, according to him, it's pretty straightforward. Step 1, you stand with the United States. Step 2, take decisive action to make sure the Iranian war machine is, and these are his words, utterly destroyed. And finally, you guarantee that ships can pass freely. The argument is that this is the only safe way for this whole conflict to end. And then the speaker asks this question. It's a way to really pivot and hammer home what he sees as a lack of action from the Australian government. He basically says that any previous prime minister would have already been on the phone to the White House, asking this exact question and offering help. All right, so that's the international picture. Now this brings us to the second big problem the speaker lays out. And this time, we're shifting focus from the world stage to a crisis he says is brewing right here at home. And it's all tied to our energy security. So what's the root of this vulnerability? The speaker points a finger directly at a political deal between the Labour Party and the Greens. He argues that this deal has essentially tied the government's hands, making it impossible to approve the kind of projects he thinks are essential for Australia's fuel supply. So what exactly was lost in this deal? He points to this, the national interest test. The way the speaker describes it, it was basically this critical override, a tool that let the government say, you know what, this project for defense or fuel security is just too important to get bogged down by environmental rules. His argument is that this vital safety net has been bargained away. Okay, so now you can see the 2 big pieces of the puzzle, right? You've got the foreign policy side and the domestic energy side. The really crucial part is how the speaker weaves them both together into one final overarching critique of the government. And boom, this slide really nails the speaker's core argument. He even comes up with a term for it, fossil fuel phobia. He uses it to describe what he sees as a major hypocrisy, a government that's fine using imported fossil fuels from places like Singapore, but is, in his view, ideologically against developing Australia's own resources. And that all leads to this. This is the speaker's final, pretty blunt verdict on the whole situation. It's his assessment that the current government is just not equipped to handle the big challenges, both foreign and domestic, that the country is facing. And so this whole thing really leaves us with a big question to think about, one that's at the very heart of the debate presented here. It's a really tough balancing act, and it frames the kind of critical choices that nations like Australia are grappling with today.